moment is here, you can stop your search. It's Comics by Perch.
Hey everybody, this is Perch, and catching up with a bunch of viewer questions and viewer mails. This one comes in and it says, Dear Perch, I saw your video on characters not needing to be written by people who are the same as the characters. Interject here. This video that the person is talking about is the one that I was kind of responding to another viewer question. It's like inception of questions at this point. Basically, around this idea that if there's say a Latina character, it has to be written by a Latin American female or Latin female writer, that you have to match up the writing. And I disagreed that is necessary, and I think it's ultimately detrimental, and I think it's something that's crept in. I think it's conflated two different things. I said in that video, and this will be relevant for the rest of the question, I think that it's interesting and important. I don't know if important is the word I'd use, but a good idea, I guess, to try and get a wide net of voices, good voices, to be clear. I mean, people who are actually good storytellers. I think you should, have a very wide range of people to go in. I think if you're a comic publisher and you're like, well, every single comic we've published in the last 5 years are by white guys, then I think you at least somebody should raise their hand and go, hey, I wonder if there's other people out there who can also tell good stories that aren't just white guys. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a good idea. Any successful company will lean into the idea of saying, we want our talent pool to be as big as humanly possible to get the best talent humanly possible. That should be the criteria, because if you pick any one gender, one race of anything, then you're leaving out a lot of other options. I think that then turning around and saying, hey, we've got a black character, so we need a black writer, I think that is racist, bluntly. I mean, I guess I don't know other way to put it. I think that is offensive to say, I've got to do this. Now, I do think it's correct to say, we've got a black character, we want somebody who's going to write a powerful, good, authentic means a lot of things when you're, say, like the character is Blade and he's a vampire. I don't know, the authentic black experience for a, immortal vampire hunter vampire. I mean, what are we going with authentic here? Man, it's raining hard. I hope this video isn't all effed up because of it, but regardless. But I think, a good writer, if you're picking a writer for a story, you want to make sure that the writer is able to do a good job. If the writer's writing a story about something in New York and you pick a writer who's never been to New York, and the writer, writes a story that involves, I don't know, something New York doesn't have, like ranches and rodeos, then that would be a dumb choice for that writer, right? But anyway, I think I think you call that research. I think that's what that's called, research. It's this crazy thing. But regardless, the mail goes on. Don't you think? I was commenting and now I'm going back to the mail. The mail continues. Perch, don't you think that there is a responsibility for a marginalized creator to write a marginalized character? Basically, to, when they get the opportunity to write a comic, put more prominence on characters that haven't had a chance to be in the spotlight. Curious to get your take on this. Where you get me, and by the way, this is probably the exact same reason I balk at things like agenda and some of these other comments, is when you start throwing around words that have weight to them, like responsibility. Does a Latino writer, we'll use something different, does a Native American writer have a responsibility on their behalf? Not the publisher coming to them saying, hey, you're a Native American, we got a Native American character here you go. If I was Native American, I was told that, I'd be like, I want to write Captain America. Screw you. That's what I would do, personally. I would feel like if I was told, hey, you're Native American, and we want to do something with Forge, and so we thought of you, I would think the person telling me that was racist, a little bit. I would think that they were saying, well, we got to match the Indian guy with the Indian guy. That's what I would be thinking, and I'd feel bad about it. right? And not bad. I'd be annoyed, I guess. Very much in the same way that Christopher Priest said he was annoyed when people were coming to him going, "Hey, you're black, and we've got a black character over here." He's been doing a great job on characters that are not black or male. His Vampirilla is pretty damn good. Anyway, regardless, I don't think there's a responsibility for the writer in this case to go the other direction and say, you know what, I will be happy to work for your company, but you're going to need to. I'm going to need to write, some Native Americans here because I have a responsibility to give more prominence to push Native American characters. Responsibility? No, I don't think you have a responsibility. You may have a desire to do it, and in which case, fine. If the editor will let you do it, go crazy. I mean, if you always wanted to write a Native American character because you feel like with your heritage, your background, you can bring something new and different, cool. I mean, that's on you. But I don't think there's a responsibility. I don't think people should feel bad. And this isn't the first time this question has been raised. I've heard this come up before, particularly in the queer community. This idea of like, well, I feel a responsibility to create some queer characters. Responsibility, again, that word sticks in my throat, like agenda, like many of the others. It's because it implies more than it should. If you have a good story, you want to do this, knock yourself out. That's what I think. If you're walking around feeling like you have a moral responsibility to do this thing, I'm telling you, you do not. You don't have a moral responsibility to do it. I think that's weird. I think you're putting undue pressure on yourself. I think it's not right. No, I guess is my answer. I don't think you have a responsibility to do it any more than I have a response. I mean, you know what? I'm supposed to have a responsibility to make some comics about really good-looking guys. I mean, I guess I can carry that burden. I'm gonna somehow bravely, courageously tell stories about good-looking guys because I have a responsibility as a good-looking guy to tell stories of other good-looking guys. That's just my cross to bear. No, that's absurd. Just because I'm good-looking does not mean I have to make stories about good-looking guys. Now maybe I want to, but I don't have a responsibility to do it. I think that we're in this era where people are way too tied up about their identity and about what it means. And the biggest, simplest answer there is what it means is, try and be happy, do the best you can, treat your family well, treat your friends well. If somebody is mistreating you because of your identity or your race, stand up to it, be brave. But no, you shouldn't feel compelled to to go around and have some obligation to your identity. I think you can you can tell the stories. If you have a story to tell, go crazy, go nuts. But I rarely see good art, good stories, good products come out of obligations. Typically, those are the ones that are the hardest to read. Those are the ones that you groan at, that just feel like a chore. Because they are a chore. It's not a labor of love, it's a labor of obligation, a labor of responsibility. I don't think you should have a responsibility to tell a specific type of story because of the color of your skin, about who you love, about your gender. I don't think there's I don't think you have to do anything. You're your own person. Do what you need to do. And I think it only leads to bad results when we think that way, when we push that way. And the fact that in comics right now, there's a whole dialogue and a debate around what you have to do because of who you are, that feels extremely regressive and backwards to me. Again, like I said before, that frankly, that feels racist. I'll put it to you this way. If I, was a comic publisher, I'm CB Cebulski, and I'm overseeing stuff, or I'm Tom Brevoort, I'm overseeing a bunch of books we want to do, and I say, hey, we've got this, black character. We want to do something with the Falcon, Sam Wilson, and I'm gonna need, I'm gonna need a black writer on this, and that black writer should feel compelled. They should feel grateful that I'm giving them a black character to write because they're black. I would somewhat expect if I approached a black writer with that request, I'd get punched in the mouth, and I feel like I'd kind of deserve it. I, I would never dream. I don't know. I would never dream of doing that because I think, correctly be called out for being a racist. And that the fact that there's any question of that going on in comics is weird. Again, this is not to say if you are black, if you're Asian, if you're Native American, if you have a passion to tell a particular story because it reflects what you know or your culture or your heritage, awesome. Go do it. Take that love, take that attachment, and tell a really great story. Do it. I'm behind you 100% because I have seen people who have done those stories and they've turned out great. You can really feel the passion of the person behind it. I think that's wonderful. However, I do not think that you should ever feel like you have to. I don't feel like you should feel like there's something you have to somehow give back to comics. I think that is absurd and wrong and detrimental and will not create good art. So there's my answer. I hope that made sense. That's my perspective. You may have a different one. Let me know in the comments below if you disagree. If you have a different point of view on this, I'm curious, but that's the way I take it. Do it because you love it. Do it because you have a story to tell. Do it because it's natural to you. It's what you know. Any of those reasons, awesome. Never do it because there's a responsibility pushed on you or an obligation. Worst reason to do those things. Thanks for listening.